everybody. Can somebody just welcome everybody? Can somebody just hit the chat button and let us know that we're broadcasting? That would be super helpful.
I just hit it.
Well, yeah, so everybody can see us. Great. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. We are live from, as they see on CNBC, multiple locations. Today, we have our guest that, if you like it, it's all Ransel's fault. You can see Ransel up on the screen there. Ransel's been a longtime dear friend, and he has kindly introduced Amir to us, who's going to take us through the presentation. Just a little housekeeping. Please feel free and welcome to ask questions along the way in either the chat box or the Q&A if you're on a computer. And I think that some functionality on the iPhone or Android will allow you to do that. If you have the Zoom app, all of you are probably super accustomed to this sort of thing. We are delighted to have Amir with us today. He's going to say a few words, and then we'll go directly into the presentation. Just to be clear, we are super welcoming any questions along the way, so don't be bashful. And if you're thinking about anybody that might want to participate, you're welcome to share the link that you have. So with that, Amir, thank you. And Ransel, thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. And thank you, everybody, for participating. Do appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about our company. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go straight into it and share my screen here with the PowerPoint presentation. And we'll go full screen. So everybody should see that now. Again, thank you again for your participation. Obviously, Amir Jaffrey, I'm the CEO, founder of Immunicom. And the company was founded, we're San Diego based. We have offices also in Houston, Philadelphia, and we also have operations in Poland right now. We were founded in 2013. My background, I've had over 25 years of healthcare technology experience, both in doing early startups at a very young age, straight out of med school, and then also ultimately working at the Fortune 20 companies, being head of R&D and CTO for multi-billion-dollar global divisions for medical technologies, pharmaceuticals, things of that nature. So I've built companies, I've sold companies, I've had that have been successful, some have not. That is the nature of startups. But overall, done well. And then I've also been on the other end of it, where I was the individual, for example, Cardinal Health, where I used to work, that was the filter for the CEO when we went out and did M&A transactions and bought out companies like Immunicom. So I know both ends of the spectrum. What does it take to build a company like Immunicom and tee it up where a large a player in the industry would be interested in providing Immunicom shareholders a significant return on investment. This company was started and everything in this company has been built with that intent, the intent being that we provide our shareholders a very good monetization opportunity in the near-term future. What we have done is we've actually built what we consider as a platform technology, and it's really different than what you would traditionally look at approaching chronic disease. So what we challenge, the challenges we take on are the most critical diseases out there, the most severe diseases, starting from oncology to autoimmune diseases to inflammatory cardiovascular diseases. And these are the diseases that kill people, that debilitate lives. That's what we take on. And in essence, what we look for is we look for areas in these diseases where there are certain immune factors or certain molecules or proteins that are in your blood, in your plasma, around the tissue that is causing or protecting the disease. We then design a custom molecule that will bind to that, whatever that protein or immune molecule is that's causing the disease, we'll design a molecule that will bind to that, but instead of making that molecule into a pharmaceutical product, which is normally what would happen, we stabilize that product into a liquid filtering environment. A liquid filter that we developed is proprietary to us. That filter fits into a machine that's similar to a dialysis machine. It's called plasmapheresis. It's in every hospital around the world. And the patient sits down and gets their blood filtered. By doing it this way, everything is outside the body, and it winds up being a very safe and affordable treatment, yet producing good responses against these diseases. And we'll get into some of this in a short while in some of the slides, subsequent slides. To date, we just received our European approval, our CE mark approval, our regulatory approval in Europe about 2 weeks ago, which was a huge accomplishment for the company. So we are now approved to be on market in Europe. And a CE mark, for those of you who know from an international perspective, is as accepted as an FDA approval in pretty much any country in the world except the United States and Japan. And reciprocal, the Europeans don't accept an FDA approval, so it's a tit for tat kind of a thing going on over there. But so we do have approval with the CE mark, which does allow us, to get approvals in pretty much any country just based on doing just some filings. With the FDA, we have been designated a breakthrough technology by them, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but this is an extremely difficult designation to get from the FDA. It's given to just a handful of select products on an annual basis, and we were very fortunate that the FDA deemed that our technology was significant enough to be able to give it that status. And I'll talk a little bit more about both of these, the CE mark and the breakthrough, in a subsequent slide. So far, since 2013, we've raised $25 million across 2 rounds, our Series A round and our Series B. Our Series B was a $15 million round. Our Series A was a $10 million round. We are conducting oncology trials in Europe for triple-negative breast cancer, in Israel for melanoma and liver at Sheba Medical Center, and at Turkey at the Acıbadem Hospital System for lung cancer. And I'll talk a little bit about these partners also shortly. Our plan right now is to extend our platform. So we have an oncology solution. There's additional molecules that we are targeting for oncology. But there are also a lot of these immune molecules that, for example, exist in oncology. They are also the same molecules that cause inflammatory diseases or some of the autoimmune diseases. So you kind of kill multiple birds with one stone is the approach. And for example, two of these molecules have applicability for COVID-19. The inflammatory condition in COVID-19 that is causing the mortality in the patients, well, it's these same molecules that are involved in cancer, same molecules that are involved in inflammatory diseases that we're going after. So it really is an approach that allows us to tackle multiple multi-billion-dollar market segments off of the same platform. The idea behind what we do is to produce safe treatments and safe advanced therapies that are affordable and effective. The affordability aspect of this is a key part of Immunicom. The Immunicom ethos is we believe we can provide multi-billion-dollar opportunities to our investors, but we can also bring technology to market simply because of how we've designed our tech platform and how rapidly we can bring products to market, that we can do it in a way that's affordable. And by that, what I mean is, if you look at oncology today, the average, the latest on all the new oncology treatments, the vast majority of them that have been approved by the FDA since 2012, they cost in excess of 6 figures per patient, $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 per patient. And when you go around the world, even in Europe, for example, those same therapies cost 90,000 euros per patient. So, my apologies if you guys are hearing some fighter jets. Our office is right near Miramar Air Force Marine Base here. So occasionally F-35s do fly over our office. Let me let them pass here. Okay. So, what the idea here is that we wanted a technology that is applicable to all human beings. So even if you are the single mother on Medicaid, in Houston, Texas, and you get breast cancer, or any type of cancer, there aren't a lot of treatment options available to you. I mean, for those of us who are more fortunate and we are blessed, we have good insurance, we're taken care of in this country. But there's a large segment of our own population where that luxury doesn't exist. The same thing as you go across the world, that actually gets further, enhanced, this lack of access to the latest and the best therapies available. So our approach was to make this affordable, make it safe, minimize side effects. Diseases like oncology, they don't just destroy the patient, they destroy families. They destroy families from a financial point of view, from an emotional point of view. And, we wanted to provide therapies that give patients dignity, that don't destroy family structure, and yet they are very advanced, and they work safely with all existing therapies, so it make it very easy to use them. So that's really the value proposition that we're going for. What we are looking for right now is we're planning on raising a Series C $30 million round by the end of this year, and first quarter of 2021. We are currently raising $10 million in a convertible bridge equity with escalating valuation caps that you can see on the screen. That if you fund by June 12th, $100 million valuation cap with 5% warrant coverage, a subsequent by July 31st. And we expect our Series C pre-money valuation at a minimum, this is our expectation, to be at $150 million. So we believe this is a significantly a lucrative opportunity for any investor that decides to get in at this stage. And we have all of our valuations are done by independent third parties, by industry companies that do this for Amgen, Merck, other companies. So we do not just come up with a number on our own. We always go out to third parties, recognized third parties, who use industry standard metrics to actually determine our valuations. Okay, let me go. So let's talk a little bit about what is it in more detail that we do. The approach that we take is what I like to say to Immunicom is we don't invent new science. And by that, or I should say new clinical science. By that, what I mean is that everything that we look at where it's already been established in published literature, in clinical literature and other clinical studies, that a certain a molecule or protein being produced in the patient's body is either causing a disease or it is protecting the disease from the immune system's natural ability to attack and kill that disease. So that relationship has already been established. So then it becomes, okay, if you can find a way to neutralize, let's just call it a blocking protein. If you can find a way to neutralize this blocking protein, then you should get a natural immune response against whatever the disease is. Because the immune system actually has the ability to really attack and kill almost any disease. It's just the disease finds a defense mechanism around it. So if we can remove that defense mechanism, we can remove whatever's causing that, all right, we know we will get a response against the disease. Well, a lot of times in some of these cases, these blocking proteins that I'm talking about, they're called cytokines to be technical. They are actually very difficult to manipulate from a chemical, pharmaceutical point of view. Their pathways are extremely complex. They lead to severe side effects, which themselves can kill you. So this is not easy to do. We, as I mentioned, take a different approach. We say, okay, we know what these offending blocking proteins are. It's published. It's in literature. It's already established. And what we then do is design that molecule, bind it in our proprietary system, as I mentioned, and the patient sits down, and you've got removal of these blocking proteins from the patient's body. Everything happens outside the body. Nothing is put into the patient's body. This is what allows the treatment to be safe, much safer than what you would have in a pharmaceutical product. Now, because everything is outside the body, what happens is from a regulatory point of view, we wind up being classified as a medical device. It allows us shorter time to market. We don't have to do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, all the stuff you see in drug development, 10, 15 years, none of that exists for us. We have our product, we do a quick, do 10 animals to show safety, we do 5 human beings to show safety, And then we do one study anywhere from 50 patients to 150 patients, and then we're done. We get our approvals. So this allows us to really bring product to market in a matter of a year, in some cases months, just depends on how fast you can get through your trials. And by doing it this way, we actually are able to have a much more affordable product, since you don't have hundreds of millions of dollars of amortized R&D costs also that you've got to recoup on the product, on the portfolio. Also, because it is outside the body, we're not interacting any physiological antibody or antiviral type of reactions inside the body. So you really don't see side effects. You see patients' quality of life improving. And again, all these things allow it to work very safely also with existing therapy. So what you want to do in healthcare, and I've done a lot of innovation in healthcare, and one of the things you have to be careful about is you can't get in front of the industry. You can't get ahead of the industry. So you cannot come out with an innovation that completely upsets the apple cart, both the economic apple cart and also the clinical apple cart. You have to understand when you want to design a successful product that you have to fit within the existing paradigms on how patients are treated. So you have to become part of what's called standard of care. And to do that, you have to play nice with all the other players out there, all the other treatments. And our therapy is designed to do that. Because it happens outside the body, it doesn't compete with any of the existing therapies as far as the mechanism of action. And therefore, by stabilizing the immune system, which is what we do, we improve the outcomes of other therapies also. Even though we get responses on our own, we also improve outcomes of other therapies. From an oncology perspective, this platform the initial product is applicable to almost all solid tumor cancers. So this isn't as if, well, I've got a specific product for pancreatic cancer, I've got a specific product for triple-negative breast cancer, or specific for lung. No. There is a blocking protein that almost all solid tumor cancers produce as a defense mechanism. It is a common protein, and that's what we target in our first oncology product. There's other products also we're working on, but the first one has this commonality, ubiquitous type of blocking protein we approach, and we're getting some very interesting, early data. So as I mentioned, the platform itself is designed to be extremely safe, and we have shown that over 700 treatments so far, and not one side effect, not one adverse event. Quality of life of patient goes up. This is all in oncology so far. But again, the overall approach lends itself even for other diseases. It has broad applicability. Each one of the market segments that we have applicability to are not small. They are the largest market segments in healthcare globally, and they are growing. Oncology, unfortunately, is a very good, high-growth, sustainable business with $300 billion annually just being spent on the treatment aspect of the disease on a global basis. Cardiovascular disease, same situation. These are the 1, 2 as far as mortality is concerned around the world. I was talking to my wife. She's also a physician out here in San Diego. During all this COVID stuff, and I think in California we had I think something like 3,200 or 3,300 COVID deaths. And I said, do you understand that on an annual basis, just in the state of California, we lose 60,000 people a year to stage 4 cancer, these solid tumor cancers that we're targeting. And by the way, those stage 4 cancers where we lose these 60,000 people, they also do not have a viable treatment. Those patients also suffer a very, very, a painful death. So I think, sometimes we need to keep perspective that, yes, things like COVID come up and they are bad, and, they've almost brought the world to its knees. But there's some other bad boys out there that are actually worse. And obviously oncology and cardiovascular, they're the leader of the pack. And then autoimmune conditions are just debilitating over a long time frame. But again, so we have access to all these types of these markets. And then because of the way we've designed the product, because of our medical device designation from a regulatory point of view, we get to market faster. Now, the beauty of our system, of our product and our approach is, from an economic point of view, we're like a pharmaceutical product as far as how we make money. The product gets prescribed, the multiple uses. When you look at our patents, they're on molecules, just like you have for pharmaceutical products. So your potential monetization of the company is more along the lines of a pharmaceutical company without the perils of all the development costs and the multiple clinical trials and the risk associated with that. As I mentioned, we have multiple clinical trials underway right now. And the trial in Europe, it's being done in Poland. It's at the University of Krakow Oncology Center, which is one of the larger ones in Europe. Our principal investigator there is one of the top breast cancer oncologists actually in Europe. He's the president of the Polish Oncology Society, Professor Piotr Wysocki. And that is now expanding to multiple sites in Poland. And I'll show you some of the results from that trial. And as I mentioned, in Istanbul, we have the Acıbadem hospital system. This is the largest private healthcare system in Turkey. It's the second largest private healthcare system in all of Asia. It's part of a large conglomerate. And their hospitals are just tier one, amazing hospitals, large patient population. They're starting their lung cancer trial in June. And by the way, that trial, 75% of it is being funded by Acıbadem. We are not funding that trial. We're only paying about 25% of it. And then we have our trial in Israel, Sheba Medical Center. That's more focused on melanoma and liver. That's also starting in a couple of weeks. We've gotten all the Ministry of Health approvals. And as for those of you who may know, Sheba is one of the top 10 medical centers in the world. There, Dr. Gal Markle is one of the top immuno-oncologists in the world. He's our principal investigator. That trial is 100% being funded by the Samueli Foundation. That's Henry Samueli, the co-founder of Broadcom out here in Orange County in Southern California. He has a foundation where they are looking for these types of therapies and treatments that break the mold, can help a lot of people. And that's a $6 million trial that he is funding specifically in Israel. So we're very fortunate that we've got major partners for a young company like Immunicom, where they've seen the technology, they've seen the management team, and they recognize that this is something, a company that they want to work with. Usually these large organizations do not work with small companies like Immunicom, but I think in us, they saw something different. Where we may be small simply because by our size, but not by our capabilities, our abilities, and really the potential that we're offering.
Amir, can I just ask a question that I think people are thinking of?
Yes, please.
When, for example, in the funding of the trial that you just mentioned, is that essentially non-dilutive capital, meaning that it's not an impairment on your cap table in any way?
Right. So the Acıbadem is completely non-dilutive. The Samueli investment is very company friendly. In essence, it converts at some future date at the time when our board decides that it converts at whatever valuation we offer them up. Their interest was not to make money, but their interest purely was to fund the trial. So
yeah, make a contribution to fund the trial.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned, from a regulatory point of view, we've been commercially cleared for Europe. We were granted approval for triple-negative breast cancer for removal. You see this term of the STNFRs. That is the specific molecule that the first product is targeting. Really what was so amazing is that the data was compelling enough that after just 14 patients, we applied and they gave us the approval. And the reason is triple-negative breast cancer does not have a viable treatment available to it, as do a lot of these aggressive cancers. These patients, these women, unfortunately, just go through multiple rounds of chemotherapy, and then they pass away. And it's not a good quality of life for the last, anywhere from 3 to 5 years, depending on how long they survive during the therapies. So we were able to demonstrate all the patients that we got in Poland, and I'll show you the more specific data just in a few minutes. They had failed every existing therapy. Nothing was working on these women. They had few weeks to live, and we were able to extend their life significantly. The other thing you need to keep in mind in oncology, success in oncology is not, I cured cancer. We don't, the media uses that term, we will cure cancer. The industry does not. The approvals that the FDA gives, that the European regulatory and notified bodies give, it's not that you cured cancer, it's life extension, overall survival, progression-free survival, quality of life. Those are the things that they look at. For example, there was a drug recently approved for triple-negative breast cancer, just got approved. And it got approved very quickly with only 90 patients, which is unheard of for a drug. It's because there's nothing out there for triple-negative breast cancer. So, and this drug, they got a marginal response, a little bit of a response in about 30% of the patients, and in which they extended life to about 7 months, but with severe toxicity, like extreme side effects. But they extended life 7 months, which is more than what a lot of these women get. And it got approved based on that. So the unfortunate thing in oncology from a patient point of view, that the bar for success is quite low. You have 15, 20% response rate, you extend life by 6 months, 5 months, great, you got a blockbuster on your hands. From an investor and industry point of view, it's actually great. We don't have to do much. Now, these are difficult cancers, make no bones about it, but we have been successful, and we'll show you the data. With the FDA and the breakthrough, as I mentioned, it is extremely difficult to get, especially in oncology. It's given to just a very handful of select products on an annual basis, and it's never had been given to a device, something that's classified as a device in oncology, until we applied and we got it. And the whole idea here is that the FDA recognizes that this product, this technology, has the potential to provide significant benefit to patients that is not being provided by any other treatment in the market right now, and that the FDA will work with us as a partner to help us get priority approval, rapid approvals, rapid submissions. And now we're going to use the European data that we just got done, getting approval for in Europe, and we're now starting our discussions with the FDA to see what type of an approval approach we can take with them. And because we have the breakthrough designation, we have very interactive discussions with them. It's not the adversarial that a lot of people like to make it out to be. They actually work on our side. They want to see this therapy get to market, and they provide us with guidance documents and things that they normally do not provide. We get that from them simply because they want to see this succeed from a patient point of view. I talked a little bit about our leadership, about myself, but really these are just some of our executives that I've put on this slide. You can go to our website and you'll see the rest of our group. But really, it's a very seasoned group of individuals that have a broad spectrum of experience, all in healthcare technology, both doing startups that have been successful, companies that they have sold, taken IPO, and also then being senior lead, multi-billion-dollar global companies. So, over I would say, the last 10 years of our careers on an aggregate, we've created over $13 billion in shareholder value, 3 successful IPOs. I've got 10 successful M&A transactions, a lot more than that, and way more than 50 products that we have commercialized on a global basis. So we understand the global regulatory environments and how to get products, to market. That's really the key thing for any advanced technology. You can be in the lab and be engineering till the cows come home, but what I'm very good at historically is getting stuff done and getting product out the door, because that's really what it's about. You got to get product out, you got to get it where it's helping people, and it can start making a difference. And that's when your investors obviously start seeing their returns also. At the end of the day, I grew up in Texas, and as we say in Texas, this isn't our first rodeo. We've done this a few times, so we kind of know what the playbook looks like, to kind of see this through. So as I mentioned, how does this work? We the cancers produce these. Excuse me. Got something. Pardon me. I'll go on mute for a second here. I apologize for that, gentlemen.
It's okay. Take your time, Amir.
Yeah, I'm good.
While you're, I'm wondering if others are thinking of this. Do you have this? Is this a device that you can show us, or is it like something that I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
No, I can show you the device. Yeah, the picture of it is there, but I can physically show you a device also.
Yeah, but continue on your process, but I just find it fascinating. Continue.
So as I mentioned, in our case, for oncology, the cancer produces blocking protein. It's called STNFR in the first product. And really what it does is they're immune cell killers that the STNFR molecule actually binds with. So it kind of neutralizes whatever the cell-killing molecules the immune system has. What we do is we actually have a patented molecule that we've designed that binds to this blocking protein. The picture you see there is actually a picture of our filter. It's a liquid environment, it's like a milky environment. And then that filter gets put into a plasmapheresis machine, which, as I mentioned, is in every hospital around the world, multiple of them. And the patient sits down, gets a couple of IVs put in them, gets their blood filtered. It takes about a couple of hours. And we'll pull out anywhere from 70 to 90% of this blocking protein in any given treatment. And when we do so, what happens is that the tumor or the cancer cells basically are unprotected. The shield has been removed. The immune system sees it. The immune killer cells start attacking. Now, the cancer cell doesn't just sit there and let the body destroy it. It produces more of these proteins. And therefore, you need multiple treatments over a 4-month time frame. And if you look at pretty much any oncology therapy, it is between a 4 to 6 month time frame where multiple treatments are given or titers are given to be effective. And this isn't really any different. And as I mentioned, the machines that that these machines exist in the hospital. This is actually one of the machines from a company called Terumo, the one on your right. Terumo has 80% global market share in these machines. Pretty much any hospital you go to will be loaded with Terumo machines. And they actually, they're the second largest med device company in Japan. They've been our corporate partner from the beginning. They've supported a lot of our trials. And so they're a strategic and corporate partner from day one. So that has provided also significant validation. Our filter just kind of pops into a little arm that you see there, and then you connect the tubings from the machine into our filter, and start the machine. The machines are pretty foolproof, and voila, you're able to very safely treat the patient. When you look at the validation for our technology, as I mentioned, we only go after solutions where the clinical validation really has already been shown, the clinical relationships between whatever the blocking protein is and the disease. So that's already been established. We just have to develop a safe way to remove or neutralize that blocking protein. And that's really where we come in. So for Immunicom itself, there's over 60 peer-reviewed articles over the last 30 years that support the approach that we're taking. As I mentioned, it's been shown if you can find a safe way to do this, it'll work. The operative word is a safe way, and that becomes a challenge. We have some of the top oncology leaders in the world, like Dr. Galmarco, Dr. Pietro Visosky, Dr. Franco Marancola. He used to be Dr. Fauci's partner at NIH. Dr. Marancola was more focused on immuno-oncology. He's actually considered the founders of immuno-oncology from NIH. He's one of our key advisors. From an FDA, as I mentioned, we have the breakthrough. We just got our CE mark approval, really good clinical results, major industry partners partnering with us. There were some human studies done in Germany 15 years ago where they were removing the same blocking protein. Their challenge was it wasn't very safe, and it wasn't something that was a repeatable treatment that you could do on a scale. But they did get meaningful responses in these patients. It wasn't a high number; it was just a small study. But they did demonstrate that yes, this theory does work. That if you can find a way to safely remove these blocking proteins, you can get responses in some of these patients. If you look at our specific technology, the product is a LWO2 product. Preclinical, we did 300 treatments in dogs. These were not laboratory animals. We do not use laboratory animals. These were people's pets who naturally got cancer. 50% of dogs get cancer. That is 50% of dogs, die of cancer. Most people don't really appreciate that. And they get the same cancer as human beings. And the same human drugs are actually used in canine oncology. There's no such thing as the dog-specific oncology drugs, but they respond exactly the same. So they become a very good model to see how your product is going to do. So we got these dogs. These were end-stage dogs, stage 4, failed all therapies, and most of them, they're old. They're 14, 15, 16-year-olds, and they couldn't even walk into the clinic. They were being carried into the oncology clinic by their owners, but they were just so far gone. And we only treated them for about 4 weeks, but even in that 4-week time frame, we saw that in over 56% of them, either the cancer completely stopped growing, or we were able to reduce the tumor, or in one case specifically, we completely eliminated the tumor. Both it had a large sublingual melanoma and a secondary tumor in the brain. Both of them were gone in 4 weeks. And quality of life improved on almost all the dogs, where they were being carried in within a matter of a couple of weeks. They were walking into the clinics, their appetites were back, they were energetic again, and really no side effects, no adverse events, no side effects as they would normally see in oncology treatments. So it was a really good response. We then did a very quick safety study at an oncology hospital in Mexico, just south of the border in San Diego. This is an American oncology hospital. All their patients are from the U.S. And this hospital, basically, these hospitals, what they do is they provide treatments that are approved in Europe and Japan and Australia that aren't necessarily approved yet in the U.S. So people come in, they pay cash. They'll spend about 3 weeks down there. So we just treated them for about 3 weeks, just to, again, to be able to demonstrate safety in human beings. And again, no side effects, excellent quality of life on the patients. We didn't measure clinical response simply because we only treated them for 3 weeks, and human treatment is an 8 to 16-week treatment. Plus, also a lot of these people, they didn't come with CAT scans from the U.S. hospital. So if you don't have a baseline, it's not ethical for us to say, well, we did this improvement. But we were able to demonstrate very strong safety once again. And our triple negative breast cancer trial in Europe, as I mentioned, we've done 40 patients so far. We've had excellent safety, 0 side effects, no adverse events, over 220 treatments. Again, these are patients who have failed every therapy. These are women who have failed 5 to 6, in some cases 7 lines of therapies. Nothing works on them. They come in and they wind up, for the ones that we are not able to treat, for example, they get referred into the study, and it takes a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks to do the assessments. A lot of them just die in that 2 or 3 week time frame. So if we are able to start treatment on them, then we have seen that we are able to create a measurable response that have significant overall survival, and at the same time maintain an excellent quality of life. I'll give you an example. Our first patient there, the 70-year-old woman, she had been struggling with this for the last 4 years with triple negative breast cancer. She had failed 6 other therapies. Nothing had worked on her. And by the time she got into our study, these are patients who are called refractory. Nothing works. All right, here you go. But good luck. They're dying. Good luck with them. That's what you get in the beginning in oncology. And with her, she couldn't walk more than 10 meters without sitting down and saying, I'm tired. It hurts. I'm out of breath. I don't have energy. I don't feel good. She wasn't sleeping. She wasn't eating, which is what you expect in end-stage patients. And she was just getting emaciated. Within 2 weeks of receiving our therapy, she told the doctors, I'm sleeping again. I'm not feeling pain. I wake up in the morning with energy. My appetite's coming back. And within 3 weeks, she was like, I'm gardening. And by the 4th week, she told the doctors, well, I walked half a kilometer today from the train station to the clinic. I didn't have to have my husband, come and drop me off to the clinic. I can come on my own. These are the types of quality of life improvements that we see. This is the part about, if you recall, I said, patients maintaining their dignity, where they can lead their lives, be independent, and at the same time, be receiving an advanced oncology therapy. That's usually, the two don't go hand in hand, even with the latest immunotherapies. So when you look at the response in Poland so far, if we don't treat them and we can't get them into the study fast enough, within 2.5 weeks, they pass away. That's the median. If we're able to treat them at least 4 weeks, then what we start seeing is that their survival goes out significantly. And you're seeing survival here, going out 7 months. We've got one patient that's, I got out to 8 months now. And again, no side effects. These are not patients who are surviving and they're bedridden and they're getting they're throwing up or getting all these other severe side effects. No, they're leading a normal life. They're feeling normal. They're eating normal. This is a key part of the therapy, is that it's not just about life extension. It's life extension with a really good quality of life. And then you add the aspect of, this isn't going to break the bank. We're not going to go and the family's going to have to, sell their home or get a second mortgage or whatever the case is. This is designed to be a very humanitarian treatment from a clinical, patient's dignity, and also from a financial point of view. Yet at the same time, the way we've designed this therapy is that it actually works safely with all existing therapies. In all of our trials, the Polish trial, the Israeli trial, the Istanbul trial, we have patients who are treated only by our therapy, so we can see what the response is, which is what you're seeing on the screen. And then we also have patients that subsequently get treated in combination with the latest immunotherapies or different chemotherapies, to be able to demonstrate that this is a very safe treatment, that this is a treatment that will work safely with all existing therapies and therefore should be part of standard of care. And we wind up playing nicely with everybody instead of going to the sandbox and kicking sand up into people's face.
Amir?
Yes, sir.
If it's okay with you, we've got several questions,
Sure.
A few of which might clear up some questions of others, but sort of germane to what you were just talking about, I happen to know Arika knows what she's talking about, so here you go. Here's a challenge for you. There's 3 questions here. What is the anticipated indication for use?
Mm-hmm. Okay, sure.
One at a time.
Yeah. Well, the initial CE mark was for refractory triple negative breast cancer patients. Our expectation is that in subsequent filings that we already know that we'll be able to get the initial approvals will be for triple negative breast cancer patients that have failed 2 lines of therapy. That's where, because we're already seeing that right now. But that's where it will wind up for triple negative breast cancer. And then for different cancers, it's going to be different.
Then will it include references to progression-free survival and/or quality of life endpoints? Yes.
Overall survival, progression-free survival, and quality of life endpoints. That's what was submitted for our CE mark. Those are the 3 endpoints that we used to get our initial CE mark approval, and it'll be the same with the FDA.
And then how do you expect immunophoresis, how did I do there, to fit into current chemoimmunotherapy protocols?
We actually expect it right now in the beginning. It will be for stage 4 patients. It's just the nature of how new technology gets administered. We expect it to be an adjunct therapy. We're positioning it on purpose to be the perfect combination therapy that not only doesn't elicit a response on its own, but really elicits a much better response in combination, that we enhance, for example, the current checkpoint inhibitors, PD-L1 therapies, CAR-T, hormonal therapies. The idea is for this to be the perfect adjunct therapy and become a no-brainer with no side effects and cost effectiveness to be part of standard of care.
And then Elise has a question. Any follow-up after 8 to 16-week treatment to see if recurrence or too early stage to determine?
No, we actually do have a follow-up. When you look at these patients, the treatments, we've had patients well beyond the 16 weeks, as you'll see, that we continue to follow up on. And as expected, they do pass away. It's just how long do they survive? So no, we follow up until death, until mortality. Okay.
Yes.
So as I had mentioned, we've got a very dynamic clinical trial strategy. Usually, and the reason that I put this slide up, for a company like Immunicom at our stage, usually you've got one trial. You've got one trial, you've got one target. You just hope you pick the right target. You hope that you design your patient inclusion, exclusion criteria correctly. because if it doesn't work, well, you're SOL. So in our case, we've been able to have, we're very fortunate that we've had major partners say, no, we are interested in what you're doing and we'll fund a lot of these other trials. So really what we have is we've got multiple trials that'll be underway in the next 12 months. And quite frankly, when you look at from an immuno-oncology perspective, to have a successful company with a high ROI, you only need one trial to really create enormous value in the company. Our goal is by the end of 2020, when we've already got compelling data from Europe and we're just building on that even further. But our goal is that the Israeli trial and the Turkish trial, that by the end of this year, will also be showing similarly compelling types of data, and that will then set the stage for us to start in Q1 of 2021, begin both licensing opportunities and M&A type discussions with major pharmaceutical players. And I'll get into that when I talk about how we're going to bring product to market as to why that is critical for us. I'd mentioned our product portfolio. As I mentioned, this is a platform technology. The LWO2 column, that's the one that we've been talking about. At the same time, I mentioned that we're working on other molecule targets that have applicability to cancer and other diseases, and they just so happen to have applicability to COVID also. There are two specific molecules, immune cytokines, that in these inflammatory cases that are causing mortality in patients, that are really the ones, the offensive ones. There's a laundry list, but there's two main ones that are at the top of that list, and we already have products under development. Our goal is that by late August or early September to have both IMO6 and IMO2 at least developed and validated in our lab. Then it's a matter of then working with the FDA on some really quick clinical trials. And again, because we have breakthrough designation, we have the luxury to have those types of discussions with or without COVID. We have that luxury to have those types of discussions with the FDA. But with COVID, that gets further exacerbated. What people are concerned about in the higher ups is not so much right now, but it's this wave 2 that they're concerned that as this comes back. Now, this approach is not going to stop the spread of the virus in the case of COVID, for example. What it does do, it does potentially significantly decrease the mortality of the patients who get critical. And by doing so, then you can mitigate, some of the severity of the disease and not have to shut the world down. Hopefully, as vaccines and other antivirals are getting developed, all these things are. In these types of viral situations, you have to have a multi-weapon strategy, and the antivirals are the first line of defense early on. But patients who do continue to progress and get critical, this is the type of mitigation therapy that would potentially work for them. We've got another product for acute kidney disease, also another condition that does not have a solution. And so there's multiple products underway. The beauty of what we do is it doesn't take us years to develop a product. It takes us months. And then it's just a matter of being able to have a strategy to execute and bring to market. Now that we've had our first approval in Europe, our platform is approved. We're ISO 13485 certified, which is what the FDA looks for. So we have GMP manufacturing. We have clean rooms that are certified. So we can actually be able, as these subsequent products are developed, shorten the approval path and even the clinical trial path significantly, because we've kind of proven out the safety of the platform with our initial approval. I've mentioned these strategic partners. I'm not going to go through this again. So, again, fortunate as a small company, even from early on, that we had major partners interested in us and willing to work with us and continue to do so. This is just the milestones that we're targeting. We are a company that is very aggressive in what it does. If you look at the current environment, I had a representative of a large family office in Texas. I was giving him an update last week. He said, well, what are some of the key things you want me to tell the family? And what I pointed out, I said, look, right now around the world, every management team is being challenged because of the global condition. Every management team is being challenged. What you need to look at isn't so much the technology and the product. Yeah, that's all there. You need to look at the management team. You need to see, what did this team do in one of the worst conditions that the world has seen since World War II, where the whole world is affected by something. What did this team do? This team being Immunicom. Well, what did we do? We actually got our CE mark, our European approval, in a manner that was virtual, without the auditors coming here, which is not something that's normally done. Not only did we get it done, we accelerated it. We kept our trials on track. Nothing got delayed. Our patients kept coming in. We worked with our partners. We worked with our hospital systems. And we didn't go back to our investors and say, hey, you know what, help us out. No, we went back to our budget. We revised our budget, extended our runway, by 2 or 3 months with the cash we have on hand, without sacrificing the speed at which we do things. We do things very rapidly at Immunicom. It's just the nature of how I run a business. I have a very good team of executives who know how to get these things done. So, as I mentioned, most of us have a fairly decent track record of finding ways to getting products on market. And so, this management team, in one of the worst conditions the world has seen, has been able to respond, has been able to execute, and really not miss a beat at all, in spite of the global condition. So when you look at how we get positioned across the industry, obviously, I've talked a lot about the side effects. I've talked about affordability, quality of life, all these things. Response rates, we're seeing a little bit better than what's traditional in immuno-oncology, but, I'm being conservative. I'm going to say, look, at the end, we'll probably see about the same. But, we do have a value proposition around the fact that it is almost a no-brainer, the perfect adjunct therapy, both for the clinician and for the patient and the payer. I'm sorry, all three. That's not both. So all three of them, this winds up being a no-brainer because really there aren't really any meaningful side effects or danger to the patient. From a clinical point of view, it's safe to use. It works safely with all other therapies. Same thing when the patients are looking at this. And then the affordability from a payer and even a patient point of view, we want this to be a slam dunk. Hey, throw Immunicom into the mix. This is just what's our advantage? I've talked about this. Medical devices are brought to market much, much faster and sooner than pharmaceutical products. So, we are able to leverage that. But when you talk about how you do a return on investment and monetize the product, that's more like a pharmaceutical product where you have the high revenue, the robust ROI models, and the high margins. So we call it regulatory arbitrage. It's the best of both worlds. Low front-end development costs, fast time to market, and high returns and high utilization on the go-to-market approach. When you look at therapeutic oncology and generally how companies like ours monetize for their investors, generally what happens is we, for example, are not going to build out a sales and distribution force internationally to bring this product to market. That is futile. That is foolhardy. I would never waste my investor dollars to do that. There are companies that do that is what they do. Even the big pharmaceutical companies, generally most of their products have not been developed in their labs. They have been licensed or bought from companies like Immunicom. And because they know that Immunicom can develop a product much faster than they can. I mean, when I was head of R&D at Cardinal Health, when I wanted to innovate, I didn't do it in-house because I knew it would take us years. It would never get there. I looked for it, and I bought out the innovations at a premium, but that was okay for me because that was a lot cheaper than actually building it myself and greater probability that it will actually get to market. Same thing in oncology. When you look at the deal stages, now, on the right-hand side, those are obviously drug development stages because almost everything in oncology it follows a drug development pathway. But when you look at what I talked about at the end of 2020, where would we want to be able to negotiate either a licensing deal for our initial product? And these are regional licensing deals. So, you do one for Japan, you do one for Europe, you do one for North America with these big pharma companies, and you do ones, breast, prostate. You can even divvy them out based on the cancers because not every company focuses on every cancer. If you look at the average size of those deals, you're looking at about $400 million. These are mainly licensing deals. Most of these are licensing deals, and then you have usually a 15 to 25% royalty built on top of that. We expect to be around this stage as far as from a deal negotiation point of view, starting in 2021 and begin these deals. So what that allows us to do is over the subsequent years, then particularly in 2022, start seeing some of these license deals come in, start seeing some of these royalty structures come in. And then, we would still probably manufacture the product. Right now we manufacture in-house, but we're looking at building a much larger global manufacturing facility in Houston. And by the way, for us, a large global manufacturing facility is 8,000 square feet. This is a very efficient product to manufacture also. That's the other thing that we have focused on, is the manufacturability of the technology, and we'll continue to fine-tune that. So what we do is we build these products. It's our target is per filter cost of goods less than $100, and then it would be wholesaled out in these deals anywhere from $300 to $400 a filter, and then they would do their markup as they sell to the hospital systems. So again, the idea here is that you have multi-billion-dollar opportunities, and this is really across just a couple of cancers of one product. This isn't a multiple product Proforma model that you're seeing here. This is the LWO2 product across about 2 or 3 different cancers, and when you look at the deal structure, this is well within the norm of what those types of products can do, on a global basis. And this is just a reflection of that same Proforma, again, off of one product, about 2 or 3 different cancers, when you look at the potential revenue opportunity in the company. Our goal is that on these large licensing deals is to provide our investors a significant return from a monetization point of view. And by that, what I mean is, we are not a company that requires a significant amount of large personnel burden, even on a growth level. I mean, at the max, this company is going to be 100 employees. Right now, it's at 20. And again, it's because how efficiently the technology is designed, how efficiently everything is done. So we're looking at that the vast majority of the money that's going to come into the company will go back to our investors as disbursements. The way the company is designed is that our preferred shareholders, which would be you guys, you would be the most senior shareholders as Series C. And by the way, we do not expect a subsequent round after this. We are not expecting that we're going to need another monetization or funding round after this. We expect this to be our last round, just based on what we believe the deal structures can be done based on the data we're seeing right now. And then then there's the Series B, then the Series A, and then the common, which is where I sit and the rest of the executives sit. We're low man on the totem pole. So it's designed to kick back money, large amounts of money to our investors very early on. I mean, you guys are coming in at the tail end of this, and this thing started 6 years ago. So to me, this is the tail end, because we're now have meaningful trials, meaningful partners, and a meaningful opportunity to bring this to market and start providing our investors a high return. Now, along this way, anywhere along this path, somebody may come across and say, we just want to buy the whole kit and caboodle. And that's something we'll, present to our shareholders, to our board, if that opportunity presents itself. Because we are looking at multiple industry sectors and targets, that might not be the highest return that we could give our investors. It might be better if we sell off segments of industries, but that's a TBD. It very well may also make sense that if we have a couple of these licensing deals that we also then look at, and a product portfolio that we're building, that we potentially look at an IPO in the 2023 type of a range. That also might be an opportunity for us to pursue. Having been a senior executive in a public company, I can't tell you that it's a very fun thing to do, but my job as a CEO is to really look at the best opportunity for my shareholders and what is the best return that can be provided to them. And that's really the approach we take. So again, if you look at the investment offering right now, our Series A was a $10 million offering, and Series B was 15. The post money at Series B was 84 million. That was, by the way, the Series B valuation was set before we had FDA breakthrough, before we had CE mark approval, before we had any of these things, the partnerships, the trials. We only had the dog trials. And so we were still, be able to raise 15 million from that. And now what we're looking at, when you look at the convertible bridge round, what we're saying is that, we believe that the Series C will be at $150 million pre-money valuation. We think on the low end, that's where we believe it will be. Now, and we're talking about the end of this year. We'll have even more data and more product developed by then. today, what we're saying is, okay, if you participate in the bridge round, a $10 million bridge round that we have, they'll convert into the C, your valuation, your conversion cap is $100 million with 5% warrant coverage if you commit by June 12th. And so in doing so, it's already a 33% discount off of where we believe the Series C will convert at. We think it's probably going to be a little bit higher than the 150 also, but I'm being conservative. So the whole purpose of the bridge round is to provide a opportunity to the bridge investors to help move the valuation higher. The higher we can move the valuation for the Series C, the pre-money, the more money you guys are going to make, the better return you're going to get on your investment due to the discount that you're going to get. So that's really the idea, is to incentivize those investors. Come in at it earlier, allows us to continue executing at a very rapid pace. Right now, our cash position lasts until end of August. It was till the end of June before COVID, and when COVID started, we kind of redid the budget and did some things, but none of that, but without sacrificing our performance, without sacrificing any of our deadlines or anything, we've been able to extend it out. So I think that's it. I mean, I talked about the exit opportunities, and they're significant. They're significant, and there's quite a few. We do have some videos on our homepage if you want to go take a look at them, about the company, how the technology works. There's a corporate commercial also, but the company video is a little bit longer. We're getting ready to replace that. But there's also white papers on our homepage that you can download, and our peer-reviewed articles. So,
well done. Before we wrap things up, we still have a bunch of folks that have stayed beyond the time here. Is there anybody, other company or other technology that's imminent and a threat at all to what you're doing? And it's okay, because there's always competition.
Right.
I'm wondering if there's somebody that's hot on your coattails that could be a significant threat.
Mm-hmm. The way I view oncology is, there's hundreds of oncology treatments that you compete against, and by positioning your product as a perfect combination therapy, you hopefully mitigate some of that. But if there's somebody like specifically the approach we're taking, there are companies that have tried this, not successfully, because they haven't been able to do the breakthroughs that we've been able to do on the safety and the affordability and the repeatability of the solutions. So the answer to that is no, not directly. And the reason I can say that quite emphatically is because as part of our CE mark approval, we had to show them all the existing technologies that are out there.
We had to show the comps or whatever.
We had to show the comps. We had to, and that was part of how they work relative to how we work. Where they are. The Samuelis also, they have been looking for 8 years for this approach. And the only company they found that had a viable solution was Immunicom.
Yeah. So before we wrap things up, one more question from Arika. IP position, can you talk about the IP?
Yes, that's a good question. So we have on the initial product, obviously we have a patent on the molecule that I believe with extension goes out to 2031, 2033, and we can probably get extended beyond that. We also then have other utility patents that we have filed around the design. There's also other patents around some of the chemistry that have been filed. The molecule patent has already been granted globally. And then for our other products also, we've got patents that are being filed as we design the molecules and the technology around that.
Great. So, folks, I know we went beyond here. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and especially those that hung in there beyond our time. And that was super interesting, Amir and Ransel. Thanks again for bringing Amir to us. And you want to have some closing remarks, Amir?
Yeah, just really quickly, again, thank you, everybody. And I apologize, did go over a little bit here, but I do appreciate the time. And this is something that every one of our investors, by the way, that has participated, and it is primarily high net worth and family offices. The calculus is 50% of it is the technology and the product and the management team and the business opportunity. They all see this as a very good business opportunity. But the other 50% of that calculus is this is something that's going to help humanity. So these are people, it's not just about the money.
Well, I'm so glad you went there, but I thought you were going to say execution because execution's everything. But
That's the management team part. That's in the first 50.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
No, it's about helping people. It's about helping humanity. And along the way, if we can make a few billion, hey, that's great.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We're going to make sure that Amir and Rensel have your information so you can be in touch. If there's anybody else that you thought of while seeing this presentation that should be chatting with them, please go ahead and connect them. And my big thank you to everybody for being part of the Family Office Insights family and kindly participating in this strange time that we're in. And we'll hope to see you on the next one. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Amir.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.